Welcome to the section on Midjourney's advanced parameters. This is going to be a fun, hands-on dive into some powerful tools that let you take your AI-generated images to the next level. We'll cover the aspect ratio, stylized, exp, my favorite parameter, chaos, and some others. By the end, you'll know how to tweak these to get more precise, creative, or wild results. This should take about 15 minutes, so let's jump in. And first of all, what is advanced parameters and why? Midjourney's basics prompts, they are great, but parameters are just like the secret codes that you add at the end of your prompt. They're starting with two dashes, like here, and following by some letters. So each letter represents the parameter itself, and they give you control over composition, style, variation, and more. You actually type them after you text description, after prompt, in the Discord bot or web app. But since we use the app in website, so let's learn how to do it here. But the same goes to the Discord as well. And we'll go through each one with examples, and I'll suggest you the prompts that you can try yourself. Or you can repeat after this and try to vary them a bit and experiment and see how it works by yourself. So let's start with the first one, with aspect ratios. This is probably the most straightforward and useful parameter for beginners stepping into advanced territory. So by default, Midjourney generates square images. Its aspect ratio is 1:1. And with aspect ratio, you tap two dashes and then AR, and then you add the aspect ratio number itself. So for example, for the image here, we used the aspect ratio that I use for my every video, and this aspect ratio is 9:16. You need to remember that 9:16 is the aspect ratio that we will later use for creating every video in this course, just because it fits the social media Instagram reel or TikTok videos. But you should also remember that it's not universal. So if you're going to upload videos to social media, and you need to know that you can add it not only as reel, but for example as a post on Instagram, and then it will look cropped. So if you want to have an image or video for your post on Instagram, let's say, use this one. And this aspect ratio is 4:5. I really love it. It's looking very good on X, on Twitter, on Instagram as a post. It's a very good aspect ratio for these purposes. But once again, 9:16 is the one that we're going to use for our videos in this course. So for example, you can not only use the vertical images, vertical aspect ratios, but you can also create horizontal ones, which are great for banners, for website design, or other purposes you have. And also keep in mind that you actually can learn how these numbers and aspect ratio can look on your images by tapping here on settings and just move this and understand how exactly it will look if you put these numbers into your aspect ratio parameter. Very useful thing. I use it a lot when I need to understand what exactly I need for this purpose, because sometimes you create banners or things that you cannot tell straightforward which aspect ratio you should use, and this thing helps a lot. So you really need to experiment with that. You can copy my prompts, or you can use any of your own and just try to experiment and see how it actually affects the picture. Because once again, let's even compare this prompt with aspect ratio 9:16 to this prompt. It changed a lot, even though aspect ratio has nothing to do with aesthetics, with any other things. It still changes the picture a lot. Why? Just because of aspect ratio, and it changes the composition, and it's very, very important. So before you actually start creating a picture, you need to think why you need it and where you're going to upload it, because it's very important. If you want to create a reel, then only 9:16. But once again, if you need something more, let's say, more organized. You can always change the aspect ratio and see how it will perform in other sizes. So the next one I was going to tell you is called stylized parameter. To be completely honest, I don't use it much yet. It's still a very important one to learn and to know that it exists. I don't really use it for one reason, just because this stylized parameter is the one that's all about balance and realism versus artistry. And if we're going to create realistic images, then by logic, we don't need it much, yet it's a very interesting thing to know. And sometimes when you create something artistic or even just want to experiment and see probably it will look better with this parameter, you still can use it. So parameter is stylized, and let me show you how it works. Okay, so here is the same prompt that I used here with these beautiful girls. And the same prompt, just adding the stylized parameter. Here it is. And look how it actually changed. They became less real, which we don't need for our videos, for our later editing, yet it creates this it creates these dramatic, abstract touches that sometimes are really needed for artistic reels. And I don't really use it much, as I said, but its parameter is written like this: 2 dashes stylized, and it has the numbers from 0 to 1000. So default is 100 in version 6. In 7, I guess it's same because we're working in version 7. And this applies to Midjourney trained aesthetic style moderately. So lower values like 0 to 250 make the image more literal and closer to a prompt. That's why it's sometimes better to not use it at all, because as I said, the default one is 100, which is good because we create realistic stuff. And higher values, let's say 750 or 1000, empty creativity, making it more painterly, dramatic or abstract. So you can experiment and as I said, you can experiment and see how it changes the absolutely realistic prompt with houses. So we took this prompt and added the stylized parameter and see how it changed the picture. It became more dreamy, became more not loading good. Becoming more dreamy, see how it looks. It's definitely big changes from the original one, yet it's not realistic. So let's move to another one. Let's move to my favorite parameter called exp. It gives you things that you really need to have in your workflow. So let me tell you how it looks. You just add the 2 dashes and exp, and then you can add any value, but I will show you the ones that I use. I always use 50. So once again, the original one without anything, without stylized, just a raw, is this. So we use the same prompt, just added the X parameter. And what it will give you, it gives you this aesthetic, more Pinterest vibes look. I added to every girl that I create for my fashion reels because it makes them more aesthetic. The look is more balanced. The picture looks better in colors. So this is my favorite one, and I really use it a lot. And it's totally different because let's see what Stylized did to these pictures. So once again, this is the default one without like anything, only my global profile, but it doesn't change anything in this case. So the stylized parameter actually added some, well, not weird, but just, things that are, it's hard to say that it's aesthetic. I mean, it's beautiful, but yet it's not beautiful in the Pinterest way, let's say. It's not balanced by colors. or it's not just balanced by aesthetic, I don't know, lightning. So basically, stylized parameter doesn't do what exp do. But exp50 is the parameter that I use. You can use the higher values, and even higher values, for example, 80 might give you some surprising results with women, and you should try it. We will talk about this more deeply in the section about AI models and people. So just compare how this one is different from, let's see, from the original. This one is original, they look real, and this one, they also look real, yet they look more aesthetic. This is like the Pinterest vibe. It just still looks very real. There's nothing about, like, for example, stylize, make them look, well, I can't say that it's like real, her skin is blurred, but here you can actually see the pores and you see that it's like a real person, yet it's more Pinterest vibe. I really love this parameter a lot, and we will talk about it later when we will talk about humans, because I use it all the time. And the next one is chaos, and chaos is the parameter that I sometimes use. It's not always my favorite one, but let me show you the here. So let me show you on this example the chaos parameter. Here, parameter chaos, or dashes chaos, can also be valid from 0 to 100, and it controls how much variety and how unpredictable result will be in your initial grid or for images. So in default, it's 0, which means more consistent and similar results based on your prompt. Higher chaos, like 50, introduces more diverse composition. So here, the chaos is only 5, which means that all these 4 pictures look super similar to each other. They're different, but the concept is super close. So no variety, no unpredictability, and nothing that can be out of hand in these 4 images grid. So if you turn the chaos to 50, you can actually see how the images will be more diverse in composition and styles and ideas. It's perfect for brainstorming or when you want to refresh the takes. So see, I can only see it when it's only being generated, how different they are, because we put the chaos to 50. Once again, you can experiment. I really don't use it a lot because I have my prompts that deliver me stable results, and I don't really need some variety in them. I need to choose the best one from the ones that I already have, but just look how it works, and looks incredibly well. So why we use this? Why we use advanced parameters? It actually helps us when a single prompt is too conflicting or vague, and the more parameters you have isn't necessarily making the picture better, but in my opinion, just trying to experiment and see what works best for your prompt sometimes really opens your eyes to image generation in general, because before applying all these parameters, the pictures look flat and not interesting. But for every person, these parameters, they really will be different because everyone has its own needs in image generation. So the more you will be experimenting with them, the better. I just showed you the ones that I use the most, or at least the ones that you need to experiment and see if it works better for your style, because it's not necessarily that you should use them all. And later, when we talk deeply about exact topics for exact parameters, you will see that it's not necessarily sometimes, but it's still very important to know, and very important to implement in your work, just to understand how Midjourney works in general. It's very important to create great images, and you need to practice and remix your favorites, and you will and just remember that the best way to learn the parameters is only your experience and experimenting once again. Before actually you can come up with the idea for your next generation, these parameters might help you a lot, just by remixing something, just by trying to change the parameters, sometimes create absolutely different picture and may give you the results that you actually wanted. So keep experimenting, and see you in the next lesson.